The boardroom went silent so fast that even the air conditioner sounded too loud. A long glass table sat in the middle like a river you could not cross without permission. At the head of it was a big screen showing bright charts and bold numbers. Around the table were people in neat suits, shiny watches, and careful smiles. They had been talking, nodding, tapping pens, and pretending not to be nervous. Then the door opened. Not for a boss. Not for a guest from America. Not for a famous investor. It opened for a janitor. His name was Boba Sonny, and he wore a faded blue uniform. His gloves were tucked into his back pocket. A mop handle leaned against his shoulder like an old friend. His face was calm, but his eyes looked tired, the kind of tired you get from working hard and being ignored. Before he could even say, "Good afternoon," a woman laughed. Her name was Kemi Ajayi, and she was the most confident person in the room. She was a senior manager at Also Sunrise Holdings, a big company in the modern town of Itoro City. Kemi always spoke like she was already winning, even when she was wrong. She leaned back in her chair and said loudly, "Oh. So this is what we are doing now? Bringing the lazy janitor into the boardroom. Are we having a cleaning lesson too?" A few people chuckled, not because it was funny, but because they were scared to be the only ones not laughing. Some stared down at their notes. Someone cleared his throat. Someone else tried to smile and failed. Boba Sonny did not move. He did not argue. He just looked at Kemi for a moment, then looked at the floor as if he had been trained to disappear. Kemi was not done. She pointed at the mop handle like it offended her. "Boba, please, don't fall asleep here. We are discussing serious money. Not the slow walking you do in the hallway every morning." That was when the boardroom went silent. Not because Kemi finally stopped talking, but because the chairman, Mr. Bamidele Ojo, did something nobody expected. The chairman was an older man with a grey beard and eyes that could make people sit straight. He had been quiet the whole time, watching like a hawk in the sky. He slowly stood up. He did not look at Kemi. He looked at Boba Sonny. Then he said, in a voice that carried across the room, "Boba Sonny, welcome. Please, come and sit. Sit." Janitors did not sit in that room. Not ever. Even water served in that room seemed too expensive for ordinary people. Kemi blinked. "Sir," she said, as if she had heard the wrong thing. Mr. Ojo did not blink back. "You heard me," he said. "Boba Sonny, sit." Boba Sonny hesitated, holding his mop like a shield. His hand trembled slightly. He looked around the table, at all the faces staring at him like he was a puzzle nobody could solve. Kemi let out a small laugh again, but this one sounded weak. "Chairman, maybe you mean he should sit outside. Or maybe you are joking." Mr. Ojo's eyes finally turned to her. "I am not joking, Kemi." You could hear someone's phone vibrating on silent mode. Nobody moved to stop it. The room felt like a pot of soup that had stopped boiling, but was still hot enough to burn. Then Mr. Ojo added, "In fact, this meeting cannot continue until Boba Sonny speaks." Kemi's mouth opened, but no words came out. Her confidence slipped like a shoe on wet ground. Boba Sonny, the lazy janitor, was being invited to speak in front of the most powerful people in the company. And nobody understood why. That was the shocking moment. The silence was heavy, and it held a secret inside it. A secret that began long before this boardroom, long before this glass table, long before Kemi's laugh. It began in Itoro City, where the streets were always busy, and where people could rise quickly or fall quietly, depending on who noticed them. 3 months earlier, the company building was not calm like it looked today. It was full of tension, like a drum pulled too tight. Also, Sunrise Holdings was known in Itoro for 2 things, big money and big pride. The building was tall and shiny, with tinted glass that reflected the sun like a mirror. People said if you got a job there, your family would start walking taller. Kemi Ajayi had just gotten her promotion. She moved from middle manager to senior manager, and she did not let anyone forget it. She wore perfumes that arrived in small boxes from abroad. She talked loudly in the elevator so everyone could hear her English. She liked calling meetings, even when an email would do. But Kemi had a problem. A serious one. Her department was missing money. It was not pocket money. It was not, we lost a receipt on money. It was the kind of money that could make the board fire people, call lawyers, and bring police officers who ask too many questions. Kemi knew it. Her team knew it. And the walls of that office almost seemed to know it too. Still, Kemi kept smiling. She told her staff, relax. We will fix it. Don't worry. I will handle it. But at night, when everyone left, Kemi stayed late. She sat alone at her desk, staring at the computer screen, tapping her nails, breathing fast. She had two choices. Tell the truth and risk losing everything. Or hide the truth and hope luck would protect her. Kemi chose the second one. She began to push the blame around like a plate of hot food. She blamed late payments. She blamed slow vendors. She blamed the system. Sometimes she blamed her junior staff, calling them careless and dull. Then, one evening, something happened that annoyed her more than usual. The elevators were slow. She stood in the lobby with her laptop bag and her high heels, checking her phone, feeling the heat of impatience rise in her chest. She had an important video call with a client in Atlanta. She had no time to waste. The elevator doors opened at last, and out came Baba Sonny pushing his cleaning trolley. His bucket rolled with a small squeak. Kemi frowned like the squeak had insulted her. Baba, she said sharply, must you always be in the way? Don't you have a schedule? Baba Sonny moved aside quickly. Sorry, madam, he said softly. Kemi glanced at him from head to toe. His uniform was clean but old. His shoes had seen too much rain. His hands looked rough, like they had been walking since before sunrise. She clicked her tongue. You know, she said, not caring who heard, some of you people act tired like you are carrying the whole world. But you are just cleaning floors. Meanwhile, real workers are under pressure. Baba Sonny lowered his eyes. Yes, madam. That yes, madam, did something to Kemi. It made her feel bigger. It made her feel untouchable. So she mocked him again, louder this time. Sometimes I wonder why they even pay you. You move like tomorrow is waiting for you. Lazy, lazy. A security guard at the door looked away. A receptionist pretended to arrange papers that did not need arranging. Nobody wanted trouble. Baba Sonny did not reply. He just pushed his trolley and walked away. But he did not walk away like someone defeated. He walked away like someone carrying a quiet story inside him. 2 days later, Kemi got an email from the chairman's office. Mandatory board presentation. She read it twice, then 3 times. Her throat went dry. She was to present her department's numbers to the board. Not next month. Not next week. In 3 days. Kemi tried to breathe. She told herself she could talk her way out. She had done it before. She could dress it up with graphs, make it sound like growth, make it sound like strategy. Still, fear followed her like a shadow. That night, she stayed late again. The office lights were dim. The building sounded empty, except for the soft hum of machines and faraway footsteps. And then she heard something else. A quiet conversation near the corridor. 2 voices. One sounded like a junior accountant, Neka, who was always careful and always nervous. The other voice sounded older, calm, almost like a father talking to a child. Kemi stood still behind the half-open door of her office, listening. Neka whispered, "But sir, if they find out, Madam Kemi will blame all of us." The older voice replied, "Truth does not fear light. And those who mock others often forget that floors have ears." Kemi's heart jumped. Floors have ears. The older voice continued, "If the boardroom must be silent, it will be silent. Some silence is punishment. Some silence is respect." Kemi stepped out quickly, but the corridor was empty. Only one thing was there. A cleaning trolley. And Baba Sonny's mop bucket, still rocking slightly, as if it had just been moved. Kemi stared at it, confused and angry. Then her phone buzzed. A new message from an unknown number. "Tell the truth before the silence tells it for you." Kemi's fingers went cold around her phone. She looked down the corridor again. No one. Only the shining floor, clean enough to reflect her face back at her. And in that reflection, for the first time in a long time, Kemi did not look powerful. She looked scared. Because the board presentation was coming. And somehow, the lazy janitor was closer to her secret than he should be. And now, on the morning of the presentation, in the boardroom, with all eyes on Baba Sonny, the chairman was still standing. He nodded once at Baba Sonny and said, "Please tell them what you told me." Baba Sonny swallowed slowly. He placed the mop gently against the wall. Then he lifted his head. And just as he opened his mouth to speak, Kemi whispered, almost to herself, "No, no, not here." Baba Sonny looked straight at the board. And the silence waited. What was he about to reveal? Baba Sonny's voice was calm when he finally spoke, but it carried clearly across the room. "I am not here to clean today," he said. "I am here because the truth asked me to come." Some people shifted in their chairs. Others leaned forward without knowing why. The air in the boardroom felt different now, like something important had already started moving and could not be stopped. Kemi's heart was beating so hard she could hear it in her ears. She wanted to stand up, to laugh, to say this was all a mistake. But her legs felt heavy, and her throat felt tight. Mr. Ojo nodded slowly. "Go on, Baba Sonny." Baba Sonny took a breath. He looked around the table, not with fear, but with a quiet steadiness that surprised everyone. "I have worked in this building for 7 years," he said. "I clean offices before sunrise. I clean them after sunset. I hear many things, even when people think nobody is listening." Kemi swallowed. 3 months ago, Baba Sonny continued, "I noticed something strange. Papers left on desks at night did not match the numbers people talked about in the day. Files were moved. Trash bins had torn documents that were not supposed to be thrown away. A man at the far end of the table adjusted his glasses. A woman beside him frowned. Baba Sonny went on, "At first, I thought it was not my business. I am just a janitor. That is what people like me are told to remember." His eyes flicked, just for a second, toward Kemi. She looked away. "But then," he said, "I saw fear. Not the normal fear of work. Real fear. I saw it in the eyes of a young accountant who stayed late every night, fixing numbers that should not need fixing." Neko. Kemi felt heat rush to her face. One night, Baba Sonny said, she was crying quietly in the corridor. I asked her if she was okay. She said no, but she said she could not speak. That night, I decided I would not pretend to be blind anymore. The room was still. Even the air conditioner seemed quieter now. Mr. Ojo folded his hands. "And what did you do?" "I watched," Baba Sonny replied. "I listened. I remembered." Kemi could not take it anymore. She stood up suddenly, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. "This is nonsense," she said, forcing a laugh. "Since when did we start trusting cleaners over managers?" "Sir, with all respect, this is unprofessional." Her voice sounded strong, but inside, she felt like she was falling. Mr. Ojo looked at her for a long moment. Sit down, Kemi. Something in his tone made her obey. Baba Sunny did not smile. He did not look angry. He simply continued. I took what I saw to the chairman, he said. Not because I hate anyone, but because this company feeds many families. Lies can burn it down quietly. He reached into his pocket and brought out a small brown envelope. It did not look important. It looked ordinary. But when he placed it on the table, people leaned forward as if it were heavy. In this envelope, Baba Sunny said, are copies of documents I picked from trash bins over many weeks. Some were torn. Some were hidden. But numbers have a way of telling the same story, no matter how you cut them. Mr. Ojo opened the envelope slowly. He spread the papers on the table. The silence returned, but this time it was sharper. One by one, board members looked at the documents. Brows furrowed. Fingers traced lines. Someone shook his head slowly. Kemi felt her chest tighten. Her mind raced. Maybe this could still be explained. Maybe she could talk her way out. She leaned forward. Sir, she said quickly, these are incomplete. Anyone could misunderstand figures if they don't know the full picture. Mr. Ojo raised a hand, stopping her. Kemi, he said gently, we will hear from you. But not yet. That not yet felt like a door closing. Baba Sunny spoke again. There is one more thing. Kemi's breath caught. 2 weeks ago, Baba Sunny said, I was asked to clean the conference room late at night. After everyone left, I found a flash drive under the table. Kemi's fingers curled into her palm. I did not open it at first, Baba Sunny said. I am careful with things that are not mine. But the next morning, I saw the same drive in Madam Kemi's hand. A quiet murmur ran around the table. She dropped it again that evening, Baba Sunny continued. This time, I picked it up before anyone came back. Kemi's lips trembled. You went through my things, she snapped. Baba Sunny looked at her calmly. I went through the truth, he said. Mr. Ojo turned to the company's legal officer. Is the drive with you? Yes, sir, the man replied. We checked it this morning. Kemi's word tilted. The legal officer cleared his throat. It contains edited spreadsheets and backup files showing changes made to cover losses. The changes were approved under Madam Kemi's login. The room felt smaller now. Walls that once looked strong now felt too close. Kemi jumped up again. That's impossible, she cried. Someone must have used my login. I trusted my team. Neka's eyes filled with tears, but she said nothing. Mr. Ojo stood up once more. Kemi Ajayi, he said, you mocked a man for moving slowly, yet you moved fast to hide the truth. You called him lazy, yet he walked quietly to protect his company. Kemi's shoulders slumped. The confidence she wore like a crown slipped off her head. Baba Sunny spoke softly now. I did not come here to shame you, he said. I came because I was taught that when a roof is leaking, you do not insult the rain. You fix the roof. Kemi covered her face with her hands. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Mr. Ojo said, this meeting is paused. Paused. Not ended. Security did not rush in. No shouting followed. Just a heavy calm. As people slowly stood and whispered among themselves, Baba Sunny remained seated, his hands folded. Kemi stayed frozen, staring at the table where her reflection looked back at her again. This time, it was not fear alone. It was regret. Mr. Ojo walked over to Baba Sunny and placed a hand on his shoulder. Thank you, he said quietly. Baba Sunny nodded. Outside the boardroom, news was already spreading. People whispered in hallways. Phones buzzed. I searched for answers. Kemi stood alone by the window, watching the city below. Cars moved. People hurried. Life went on, unaware that her world had just cracked. Behind her, the door closed softly. She turned. Mr. Ojo stood there, holding a file. "Kemi," he said, "there is still one decision left to make." Her heart sank. "What decision?" He looked at her steadily. "Whether this story ends in disgrace, or in truth." Kemi's eyes filled with tears. And for the first time since she joined Oso Sunrise Holdings, she had no speech prepared. The silence returned. But this time, it was waiting for her answer. The silence stayed with Kemi even after the boardroom doors closed. It followed her into the hallway. It followed her into the small office Mr. Ojo asked her to sit in. It followed her into her own thoughts, where excuses used to live. Mr. Ojo placed the file on the desk but did not open it. He did not shout. He did not threaten. His calm was heavier than anger. "Kemi," he said gently, "you have worked hard to get here. That is true. But you chose fear over honesty. Now you must choose again." Kemi stared at the desk. Her hands were shaking. For a long time, she said nothing. Outside the glass walls, staff walked past slowly, pretending not to look. Everyone could feel that something important was happening. Finally, Kemi spoke. Her voice was small. "If I tell the truth," she said, "I will lose everything." Mr. Ojo nodded. "If you do not," he replied, "you will lose more than your job." Kemi closed her eyes. In her mind, she saw Baba Sonny pushing his trolley every morning. She remembered how she laughed. How easy it felt to look down on someone who never fought back. She opened her eyes again. "I did it," she said. "I moved the numbers. I thought I could fix it later. I thought I was protecting my team. But I was really protecting myself." The words fell into the room like stones. Mr. Ojo breathed out slowly. "Thank you for telling the truth." Kemi's shoulders dropped. Tears ran freely now. "What happens next?" "That," Mr. Ojo said, "is for the board to decide. But honesty today matters." Later that afternoon, the board met again. This time, Baba Sonny was not standing. He was seated at the side, quiet as always. His mop rested against the wall, untouched. Kemi stood in the center of the room. She did not wear confidence anymore. She wore humility. She told them everything. She spoke of fear, of pressure, of pride, of how easy it was to believe she was better than others simply because her chair was higher. No one interrupted her. When she finished, the board sat in silence once more. But this silence felt different. It was not sharp. It was thoughtful. Mr. Ojo stood. "Kemi Ajayi," he said, "your actions broke trust. That cannot be ignored." Kemi nodded, tears streaming. "I understand. You will step down from your position," he continued. "You will cooperate fully with our audit team. There will be consequences." Kemi bowed her head. "Yes, sir." Then Mr. Ojo added, "But this company also believes in learning. If you accept responsibility and make restitution, we will not destroy your future." Kemi looked up, shocked. "Thank you," she whispered. The meeting ended quietly. As people filed out, whispers followed Kemi. Some faces showed disappointment. Others showed pity. A few showed respect. Baba Sonny remained seated until most people had left. When he stood, Kemi approached him slowly. She stopped a few steps away. "I'm sorry," she said. Her voice trembled. "For what I said. For how I treated you." Baba Sonny looked at her calmly. "Words can cut," he said. "But they can also heal, if you choose them well next time." Kemi nodded. Thank you for not hating me. Baba Sonny picked up his mop. Hate is heavy, he replied. I already carry enough. News of what happened spread through Itoro City. People talked about the senior manager who fell. But more than that, they talked about the janitor who spoke. Staff began greeting Baba Sonny differently. Not louder. Not fake. Just with respect. 1 week later, something unexpected happened. A company-wide meeting was called. Mr. Ojo stood before everyone and said, "Today, we recognize quiet integrity." He called Baba Sonny forward. Baba Sonny looked confused as he walked up, still in his blue uniform. For years, Mr. Ojo said, this man protected this company without a title. Today, we give him one. He announced Baba Sonny's new role as Facilities and Compliance Supervisor, a position that came with training, benefits, and a seat at certain meetings. The room filled with applause. Baba Sonny bowed his head, overwhelmed. Later that day, as the sun dipped low over Itoro City, Kemi packed her things quietly. She walked past the lobby where she once stood impatiently. Baba Sonny was there, checking a clipboard. She paused. I'm starting over, she said softly. He nodded. We all clean something, he replied. Some clean flaws. Some clean mistakes. Kemi smiled weakly and walked out into the evening. The building stood tall behind her, its glass reflecting the fading light. Inside, work continued. Not louder. Not faster. Just truer. And from that day on, whenever someone laughed at a quiet worker in Itoro City, someone else would say, "Careful. Flaws have ears."